Brazil's Supreme Court has upheld a decision to shut down the X platform in the country for failing to comply with its orders. The X was banned in Brazil at the weekend after ignoring a deadline to appoint a new legal representative. The company has been resisting orders to block dozens of accounts accused of spreading disinformation and misinformation. Brazil is one of the platform's biggest markets, with tens of millions of users. Gustavo Ribeiro is the founder and editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Report. It's an independent English language media outlet, and he joins us now from Sao Paulo. Gustavo, thank you. Now, tell us about this Supreme Court ruling. What does it mean?
So this is the culmination of a months-long spat between X and the Supreme Court. Like you said, X has resisted court orders to block certain accounts that are deemed as disinformation hubs, to the point where Elon Musk in April was placed under investigation by the Brazilian Supreme Court for incitation of criminal activity and and I quote, willful criminal instrumentalization of acts. So the Brazilian legislation requires these companies to have a legal representative in Brazil. And after the Supreme Court started to up its rhetoric and say, if you don't comply with these rulings to block certain posts and certain accounts, your legal representative in Brazil faces even arrest, then X decided to shut down its office in Brazil. And that's what happened, that culminated with this ban, which means that since the weekend, Brazilian users cannot access the social media platform without using a VPN.
And so tell us about these accounts and the nature of the content that they've been posting.
So these are mostly accounts linked to the far right, and several of them are, for years, have been spreading misinformation around Brazil's electronic voting system. Brazil has an over 100% electronic voting system that has never faced credible allegations of fraud, but former President Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right leader, started to sow distrust in the system. And after he lost the election in 2022, never fully acknowledged the defeat and actually pitted his supporters against democratic institutions. And I mean, these disinformation networks have had real-world consequences. We have seen hordes of supporters of Mr. Bolsonaro storming the buildings housing Congress, the Supreme Court, and the presidential office in January 2023. Claiming that the election was stolen from them and that they wanted a military coup to restore Bolsonaro's presidency, which of course did not happen as they wanted.
Now, what is Elon Musk's relationship with Brazil's far right, and I suppose in contrast his relationship with the leftist new president Lula?
Well, Musk for the past few months has echoed a lot of the arguments that are being voiced by the Brazilian far right, saying that the country is under a quote-unquote dictatorship of the Supreme Court that is trying to regulate speech at all costs and actually muffle dissent. Now, it is important to say that the Supreme Court has indeed, according to many legal experts, overreached in its quest against disinformation, even if, as I said, there are real-world consequences to that. But yes, Musk has been close to the former Bolsonaro administration, and now is one of these hubs of disinformation, claiming that Brazil is under a dictatorship, as if Brazil had the same kind of freedom of speech regulations as the US. We don't have a First Amendment here, and speech here is much more regulated. You cannot say just whatever you want. Some things are crimes, just as calling someone a homophobic or a racist slur, and, for instance, defending Nazism, and so on and so forth.
So has there been any evidence of a political element to the shutdown of X in Brazil?
Well, I mean, The thing is, the Supreme Court has for years started to go against this disinformation rings. Now everything has become political in this polarized world, and the reaction to this ban, for instance, has gone pretty much according to party lines. The more to the right you are, the more likely you are to have been outraged by this decision, and the more to the left you are, the more you're likely to say that the Supreme Court is on the right side of this issue. So, I mean, yes, that everything has been turned political at this point.
Gustavo Ribeiro, the founder and editor-in-chief of the Brazilian Report, an independent English language media outlet. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.